So I got like this cat toy for the cats. It's like, so you put one of the treats in this hole here, and the whole idea is like they have to like do that to get the treat out, but it's pretty hard. Like even I can't do this. I can't see how. Well, they got one there. So I'm 1 for 1 for so far, but. Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees. Well, it's finally happened. Clay Holmes has blown a save. We'll dive into it in the situation that, not really, it's important overall. You're going to blow in saves, but I guess we'll give his kudos to, again, kind of going a long way before eventually do blowing a save and giving us some runs there. So we'll kind of give a little applause to Clay Holmes there, and hopefully it's not something that lingers, which it could, because we're also going to go back a little bit of time machine and look at a similar situation happened in 2022, which kind of led a bit of a decline for Clay Holmes there. So we'll get into the whole thing. Plus, we got a number of Yankees working their way back via the rehab. One of the big names is Mr. Cole there. We'll kind of just let you know where each of these Yankees are at. And of course, what we love to do most of all is stats, numbers. It's very exciting, but some good stuff for the Yankees in terms of not only the hitting, but the pitching there. And we'll kind of give it a little, not say report card, but kind of check in with the team, almost done with May here, so it's almost 2 months in, where the team stacks up amongst other teams in Major League Baseball. And kind of a little side story there, if you haven't heard it already, Andy Martino of SNY coming out with a new book about Brian Cashman. A little backstory between a riff between him and Joe Torre over a pitch you probably even forgotten about there. So we'll kind of get into that whole thing. So we're going to get a lot of stuff for you. So before we get started, if you haven't done it already, there's an audio podcast version of the show. So you get more frequent updates and recaps and other cool stuff there. So make sure you subscribe to that. And then here, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. And of course, you're watching on TV, you got to do both. Go wherever you get your favorite podcast, subscribe, Section 420 Talkin Yankees, and of course go to YouTube, Section 420 Talkin Yankees, catch all the balls. Now, before we get started, you're probably wondering why am I wearing the Madison Square Garden shirt. It has nothing to do with baseball, the Yankees, but of course we got two other New York teams. Of course the Knicks unfortunately got eliminated by the Indiana Pacers there, so they were kind of rocking the Garden for a while, but at least give Knicks fans a good run there. And of course Rangers currently in the NHL playoffs and see how far they go there. So I want to give a little homage to both teams there, so that's probably why you're wondering. Don't worry, soon we'll have a Yankee Bronx related shirt back there. But for this episode, again, we're going to kind of pay homage to those both. But of course, I don't know how you are, but me, at least when we get into the baseball football season, I don't really pay attention to the football Giants until, I know what happened to the Yankees. Well, now if you're a Knicks fan, maybe, all right, yeah, you're flipping through, you see that the Yankees got off to a good start of the season, you're watching some of the storylines, but you're still locked onto the Knicks. You want to get that Knicks championship, which has eluded them since 1973 there. And now that the Knicks are eliminated, maybe now's the time where you're going to finally transition to baseball. So, this is an episode that will also help you transition into baseball here. So, and of course, leading off is a relief pitcher, which makes totally no sense, is Clay Holmes. And as mentioned at the top, finally blowing a game this season. Again, you knew it was going to happen at some point. It was a May 20th game against the Seattle Mariners at home. Everything was rolling good for the Yankees. Stroman had a great start, pitched like 7 2/3 innings. The Yankees were up 4-1. You figured this would be a laugh or a sleeper. Great. At that point, the Yankees had won 7 games in a row. And personally, Clay Holmes going into this game, again, 0.00 ERA. Again, at some point you knew that was going to end. No earned runs up yet to that point of the season. In 20 innings pitched, and of course with 13 saves. And it's kind of a weird inning. Got the first out there, and then a couple of just badly paced infield singles, and of course Gleyber Torres a little bit of a bad throw there. So it was kind of a bit of a comedy error. It wasn't like he just sucked and totally just walked the ballpark. We've seen Clay Holmes happy here. So I think it was just a little bit of bad luck. But I guess if you're gonna blow a game, you might as well do it epically. And of course he ends up giving 4 runs. The Yankees end up losing the game. Kind of a heartbreaker there, 5-4 there. But again, you have to give kudos to Holmes there, who during this offseason, it was kind of like I was okay with starting him as the closer, but of course I thought maybe Cashman should have done a little bit more, just bring another option there, because again we've seen a little bit Clay Holmes be good, also be bad. We know how it was going to be, but actually having a stellar start to the season there, and again hopefully this is just a little blip on the radar. I think it is. Again, it wasn't a situation where it was wild ballpark. I get it. This thing was a comedy of errors, and look, it's just going to happen at some point, and look, there it is. So hopefully he has another streak of games until that happens again. But if you are a Yankee fan, you may want to be concerned a little bit, because if you want to go back to the time capsule there, back at 2022. Now, remember that season, obviously now because Judge was on his home run quest there to take Roger Maris' record there, but the Yankees team themselves got off to a great start to the season. Now, it was a little later in the season. It was like in July. The Yankees had 60-plus wins there. Now, it was a game, you might remember this, against the Cincinnati Reds. Now, the Yankees had won the first two. Everything was rolling. Now, it was a game that Garrett Cole started. He went 8 innings, shutout baseball, 11 strikeouts, and the Yankees had a 3-0 lead going into the 9th inning. And I figured this would just be an easy sleepwalk, 1-2-3 save for Clay Holmes and bring Clay Holmes out there. Unfortunately, similar to the Seattle game, he gives up 4 runs, and actually Yankees shockingly lose that game of 4-3. And again, up to that point, Holmes was had an ERA under 1. He was money. He was tough. He hadn't even given up home runs since September of the year before that. Untouchable. But if you just remember that game, and then thereafter, everything went downhill for not only Clay Holmes, but the Yankee team in general. We thought that Yankee team was going to almost maybe win over 120 games. That's what a great start they got off to. And of course, remember the second half was disastrous. Of course, Matt Carpenter got hurt. Almost the entire team got hurt there. They brought in Benintendi for a trade. He ends up getting hurt. Just plethora of injuries. And then the only thing the root for that season, of course, was Judge going to surpass Roger Maris's 61, which he did. But that second half of the season, just as a fan watching, was brutal. They were losing a lot of games. They were terrible. And Clay Holmes himself was not the same after that game. And then, of course, later in the season, seemed like he had some shoulder issues. And again, Boone was kind of spotty using him in the playoffs. And then, of course, we know ultimately getting eliminated by the Houston Astros there in the ALCS there. But it was that game against the Cincinnati Reds that not only the Yankee team, but specifically Clay Holmes was never the same again after that game. So I'm not going to say it's going to happen this time, but we'll see what happens. But, there's both situations, but there's too similar. You have Garrett Cole, 8 innings shutout baseball, and you have what happened that Monday game against Seattle. Stroman going into the 8th inning, again, just absolutely dominant. Only give 1 run there and all of a sudden in the 9th inning, both situations, Clay Holmes just completely melts in different ways though, and ended up blowing the game there. So worth looking at. I don't think that's the situation. I think with Clay Holmes in 2022, I think there was a health issue with his shoulder there. That probably was the reason why. I just think this was a situation with bad luck, but of course, we'll now evaluate it, to see if he knocks down his last couple of saves after that, and if that's the case, then the Seattle blown save, you'll just forget about it. And another huge step for the Garrett Cole guy I just mentioned before, in his way working back to the Yankee rotation. As we know, in the last episode, we kind of mentioned that he's going to start throwing off the mound. Well, he's done that. Well, now he's even done one step better. So May 18th, threw 2 innings of a simulated game in the Yankee bullpen, and then May 21st, scheduled to throw to actual live hitters. So it's the first time all of 2024. He's going to be throwing to, live hitters, at least in the regular season. Of course, they had to shut him down in spring training, as you know, there. So making another step back, to joining the Yankee team then, joining the fun, which, again, the rotation has been good, been spectacular without him, because imagine with him is even going to get better. Now, what exactly is going to be? They mentioned Garrett Cole. They said, is June possible? He said it's possible, but again, they haven't really put a date on this yet there. But again, it's another major step as he works his way back. Now, in the simulated game there, he didn't throw, he didn't go too hard. They reported his velocity in the low 90s, which you can understand. He's not going to amp it up fully yet there. But again, taking a major step there and getting him back. But again, this Yankee rotation, that's the way they've been going right now, mainly with the contributions getting from Luis Heel as well as Clark Schmidt, holding down the fort there. So, it really gives Garrett Cole time to really come back under no pressure. He has to rush his way back. He doesn't have to save the team or save the rotation. They've been all doing a great job. Stroman's been good. And overall, to say, even though Nesta has a bloop here and there, obviously has his struggles on the road, but Rendon and all 5 of them are throwing the ball well. So, again, Cole could then take his time there, not rush himself back, not injure himself, coming back, which would be disastrous here. So, we want to make sure when Cole comes back, he's ready to go, hit the ground running, and then you get to depend on for the remainder of the season. I guess we'll let the story, might as well get the other rehab news out of the way. And a player who almost gave up on for 2024, and we'll see if, what he can come back and what he can contribute. That'll be DJ LeMahieu, of course. A couple weeks ago, they tried a rehab start with him, put him down into the minors, and he was only able to last 1 at bat, and they had to pull him out with that same hurt foot. Obviously, gave it another go starting May 17th, and he was assigned to the AA Somerset team, but this time actually went a little bit better in the game. He actually even beat out an infield single there, so it just shows the speed, and have to get the wheels going there. Again, showing no bad effects from that, so that was a really good sign there. And then played 3 innings in the field in that game, and again, since that time, so far so good for DJ LeMahieu. Again, no after effects on that hurt foot, so maybe this time he's finally gonna come back and maybe stick with the team. So we'll see. So the plan for him is to sometime join the Yankees when they go on the West Coast trip. Now, the West Coast trip is going to be between May 24th and June 2nd. They hope, again, if all goes well, there's no setbacks with DJ LeMahieu, he'll join the team at that point there. And, of course, course, the Yankees will, have to make some decisions in terms of, players going around. Because again, John Birdie's been back. So far, he's been so good. Even hit his first home run as a Yankee there. So he's been holding down the fort. And similar to that, maybe if all things go well, DJ LeMahieu is a better hitter than John Birdie. We all know that. But again, since Birdie's okay and you trust his defense, DJ doesn't have to rush back. And again, once he's ready and if he's 100%, then he could join the team smoothly. And hopefully, finally this time, we could see DJ LeMahieu the way he needs to be. Again, he's been not himself the past couple of seasons. I don't think he's going to be back to what he was maybe like 2019. I don't think you're going to get that DJ LeMahieu back. But if he could be better than a 250 hitter or 260 hitter, if he could be like a 280 hitter, I think that's a win for the Yankees. And the last rehab update, and then we'll jump off the ship, don't worry about it, is Jason Dominguez. Now, he started his rehab. Again, he's coming off Tommy John surgery from the late last season, which still boggles the mind because he's a position player needing Tommy John surgery. But nevertheless, that went well. Rehab went well. And, of course, he was assigned to the single-A Tampa Tarpons on May 14th in that game going 1 for 3. And now obviously right now, the plan, at least according to Aaron Boone, is get him to a point where he could play like 10 games in a row and feel strong, feel healthy, feel normal. And then maybe at some point then they would consider moving up to the big club there. But again, similar that the Yankees are in a good position because Stanton has been better this season, with his power and swing. I mean, you're seeing the home runs, but not only the home runs, but hitting the lasers. That's how you know he's on. When he hits those low line drive kind of golf type of home runs that just barely go over the wall. That's when Stanton's on, and he's been hitting those type of home runs this season. So good news there, as well as with the left field play they're getting out of Verdugo. Just seems like it fits like a glove here, and he's been doing well. So, you have to rush Jason Dominguez here. Offense isn't the problem with this Yankee team the way it was, a season ago. I know a couple weeks ago the Yankees had to hit a little bit of a wall there, but I didn't think it was a big deal, and the Yankees seemed to have recovered from that. Again, getting ripped off like a 7-game winning streak. So nothing to be worried out there. And Jason Dominguez, is under no pressure to come back quickly. So again, whenever he's ready, Again, you're probably looking at a situation, if it even happens, around maybe July-ish. Just according to just the way that, this kind of feels out. Now, I mentioned this on the audio podcast, about a week or two ago, that there was a broadcast on the Fan. There was a game it was a game with Susan Waldman and Imam Babari, where Babari made the point that, he's working his way back and that's good news. And Susan countered with that, well, that's not good news because if he comes up here, it means someone's going to lose their job. Why is that good news? And, I understand her point of it. Like, yeah, it does kind of, maybe it's going to take a bats away from someone if that's the case. But I just think it's good to have him as an option. I'd just rather have that as an option versus the other way around where the guys up here are not doing well and you almost need him to save the day, which kind of what the Yankees needed him to do last season. Unfortunately, he just got hurt after 7 games, but nevertheless, I just think it's good news. If he does come up here, I just think it puts pressure on Stanton to, keep doing what he's been doing this season. Again, he much improved himself from last year, and it puts pressure on Verdugo that, hey, look, you can't slip because if you do, you're going to lose your playing time. Now, I don't think the likes of Judge or Soto will have to look over those shoulders because it is cemented in and it is the way the players are. They'll never falter at much where they lose their job to Jason Dominguez. But I think of the 4 players mentioned before, Verdugo and Stanton are the ones who probably risk losing at bats there. But hey, I think it keeps them on their toes that if they do slip there, then hey, there's Jason Dominguez waiting on the bench to take their job. So I think overall it's good news. And let's just say, and again, I don't think the Yankees would do this, but let's just say you're making some huge trade down the road there and you want to have Jason Dominguez as a chip. Well, don't you want Jason Dominguez up here in the majors, performing on the major league level as an enticing trading piece? I think you would there. So again, I don't think the Yankees are interested at all in trading Jason Dominguez, but just to have the option to have him up there, I think it's all good news. So, I don't know why Susan Waldman was sour grapes over that. And if everyone's playing well, hey, look, this is good news. And even for a situation where Jason Dominguez is doing fantastic, but if Verdugo and Stanton are just also doing great, then look, you just keep Jason in the minors, and that's it. And maybe call him up in August so he qualifies for the postseason. That's fine as well. And hey, look, at least you have the option there. So so I don't know why Susan's a little grumpy about that. I just think it's good for him to be back, just for not only keep the players on his toes, but just to have the option on the bench. And you're not forced to. You want to keep Jason Dominguez in the minors and keep him in AAA. And just, hopefully if someone gets hurt, you could just call him right up. And Aaron Judge, I mentioned before, doesn't have to look over his shoulder about someone taking his playing time, of course, not because he's the Yankee captain who's making $1 zillion, but also recently awarded the American League Player of the Week. And, the Yankees are really racking us up between Soto, Rizzo, now Judge, and the Yankees are kind of taking these things like candy. Now, for Judge, this was between the week of May 13th through the 19th, where he led the American League in on-base percentage, slugging, and on-base plus slugging, and plus had 8 extra base hits. And this is a period of 6 games. Hit 500, pretty darn good. 3 home runs, 5 RBIs, not really major there. 7 walks and 7 runs. And again, just go back to start the way Judge started the season. Did not get off to a good start. Even got to the point where fans were booing him a little bit. He really seemed out of whack. We never really seen Judge, be this bad this long. And I was worried that maybe that kind of midsection core issue he had in the spring training where they had to shut him down a little bit. Was that still lingering? Was he hurt? Was what was going on here? But as it turns out, I guess he just got off to a slow start. Again, as long as he wasn't hurt, you figured Judge would snap back into it. Did snap back into it, and people kind of credit that point where he got his first career ejection. Now, I don't think that was really the case, because again, he was starting to turn around a little bit before that, and even within that game, he had a couple of hits, so I don't think it was really that moment. But of course, the game after that, he hit a home run, and of course, really overall since that, he's been teeing off. So again, if anyone was worried about Aaron Judge, you don't have to worry about him. And again, if Jason Dominguez happens to come up here, I don't think he's taking any playing time away from Aaron Judge. Maybe someone else, but definitely not the captain. And since I teased you with a little Judge stats, I know you get your appetite up for some more stats, so that this is now the segment for you. It's the Yankee stats for not only pitching as well as hitting, just kind of see where the Yankees stack up a little bit. Again, May is just about done there, and now when the Yankees, they came into this season, again, the number one mission for the team was basically be more of a contact hitting team. They had to get the team batting average up. I mean, they're almost like second to last season. I think they're only better than the Oakland A's, which doesn't say much there. So, of course, the Yankees hit the home runs. We all know that, so that's no surprise there. But the Yankee overall, they need to get the team batting average up. They need to bring players in here to be more of a contact hitting team. And of course, Juan Soto was a big help there. So, with just about 2 months under there, we'll kind of check on the team now. This is amongst all baseball teams. This is the American League. This is against all the other teams in the league there, so we'll see how the Yankees stack up. We'll kind of do some of the major hitting stats there, and of course the pitching stats there to see where both line up there. So I guess we'll have the hitting leading off there. So in terms of team batting average, then right now 4th in all the baseball, which is good. Now, the result is a 257 average, which doesn't sound great. I mean, that would be like an embarrassment. If you're a 250 hitter, normally you'd be like an 8th or 9th hitter. But again, when the game's a little different the way it is versus a decade or two ago. And again, this is amongst other teams. So the Yankees are only 4th, so that's pretty good compared to like a year ago when they were like almost like dead last in team batting average, almost like 221. I mean, you had guys like hitting 200 on the team there, up and down the lineup there. So that's an improvement. So 4th in baseball, again, 257. Home runs, this is no shocker. 2nd in all of baseball at 68 right now. And they're kind of neck and neck with the number 1 team, was the Baltimore Orioles, so that could flip-flop at any moment. But the Yankees, always pretty much the whole season, they're going to be there at the top of the home run list. But, you expect that the New York Yankees always hitting home runs there. But, again, number 2 right now in all of baseball. And hits, contact hits. I mean, sure, we love the long ball, but puts runners on, we get the runners on the bases, move along, gets excitement. And, one of the goals for this Yankee team was to be more of a hitting team, a contact hitting team. So let's see how they do it there. Right now, they're also 4th of all baseball, good there, with 422 hits there. So, you want to say it's some of the players they brought in, the new hitting coach, James Rawson, maybe there's a different philosophy there. But we also seen improvements with some Yankee players compared to last season. I mean, obviously, putting Soto in the lineup is a no-brainer. Now, this is going to improve things just because he's Juan Soto. But you're getting a better version of Stanton right now. He's hitting around 250. Remember, a year ago, Stanton was struggling to reach 200. So Stanton's about hitting like 50 points higher right now than he did a year ago. So that's an improvement there. You're getting a better version of Anthony Volpe. And Volpe was one of those other guys that was hitting like 200 last season, even though he was bopping some home runs. But now he's bopping some home runs and hitting for a better average there, which he's been doing since spring training there. And also Anthony Rizzo, getting a better version of Anthony Rizzo. Remember last season, he's got a good start there, but then had the concussion, which you didn't know about for about a month and a half. And then, of course, he was like down, so like hitting below 200. Well, now hitting about 260. So you're also getting a better version of Anthony Rizzo. Really, all the players up and down the lineup are much better than they were, because the ones who were here last season compared to last season. The only ones who regressed a little bit right now is Gleyber Torres. Did not get off to a good start of the season. He's hit a little bit better. He's still about 221 right now. So he's the one that's kind of pulling everyone down a little bit. Again, he's not hitting as good as he was last season. But other than that, it seems like all the other players are hitting better there. So good news for the hitters. So far, so good. Again, Cashman with some of the players he brought in, but also just because the hitting philosophy, everyone's been doing a better job. Just they have to find out, get Gleyber Torres getting a little bit, get him hitting a little bit better there. Now we'll go over to the pitching side of things, which because you never a problem with pitching. I mean, not saying they're always the top of the heap there, but it's never a huge issue. But of course, some good stats there to report as well. So first, team ERA, this is the bullpen as well as the starting rotation. Again, this is amongst all of baseball right now. Yankees number 1 leading all of baseball with ERA of 2.86. So team ERA under 3, which is absolutely fabulous. So if you have power, home run, hitting, and now a great team ERA there, I mean, it's a formula why the Yankees are right there at tops of baseball, almost most wins amongst their peers there in baseball. So that kind of tells you all there. More good news for the Yankees there. Strikeouts, 5th in all the league, in all of baseball, with 424. And then saves right now, even though Holmes had that blown save, right now, number 1 in all of baseball with 18. Most of the Holmes, but a couple other guys, Luke Weaver would have someone chipped in on some other nights there. But so everything going good for the Yankees in terms of hitting as well as the pitching. Again, you knew the pitching was going to be there, but you'd expect, though, the ERA to be below 3. And again, that's without Garrett Cole. So just imagine if Cole joins this rotation, it could be, the Garrett Cole we know, that's even going to be better there. So he's hoping the Yankees keep it up there. But the good news, again, the big difference between this Yankee team and between last year's Yankees team is the hitting, not only because Juan Soto's there, but again, individual players who I mentioned before are hitting much better, hitting for average, and it looked like more of a baseball team, more excitable to watch versus last year where it was just, a bunch of guys hitting 200, underperforming, okay, occasional 3-run home run, rah, 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 but it was boring baseball to watch. Not the case so far here in 2024. And for all the Cashman bashman people want to do in the offseason, he's going to spend the money, he's going to get this guy, he's going to get this guy. And we see him do a lot of these moves where he picks guys off the waiver wire, makes these weird trades, stuff like that. And you figure, how does he see his guys, who he finds guys? Well, here and there he does find some, I guess you say, pearls in the oysters, and one of them who's really coming on this season, and reason for the Yankee ERA, at least in the bullpen there, has been Luke Weaver. Got off to a great start, and if you kind of look at it, he's kind of morphed himself into that Michael King role, who we thought, of course, was going to be Jonathan Weisiger, but of course, lose him to Tommy John surgery. So it was kind of open season there. Who's going to take that role there? And again, right now, as things stand, looks like Luke Weaver's taking that role there. And here's a guy that Cashman picked off, the waivers last season from the aforementioned Seattle Mariners there, and he's really blossomed in the Yankee bullpen. So I guess we'll give him a little look at. Again, he's someone that again doesn't jump off the page at you, but he has been very good so far this season. Again, part regionally, the Yankee ERA, and again, the Yankee bullpen has been good this season. So now, when Cashman bagged him about a season ago, again, really, no one wanted him. He just took him off the waivers from Seattle there. Again, at that point, he was a journeyman. Again, here's someone with a career record of 30-42. So he's like 12 games in the 500 for his career, 9-year career, bounced around all over the place, 9 years, and had a lifetime ERA of 5.01. So you kind of feel like, why is Cashman even looking at a guy like this? But he got the guy last season. He was kind of decent. They use him in kind of different roles. He spot started a little bit, but this season has been all out of the bullpen, and he's been fabulous. And you kind of like, has Cashman even find these guys? And he does that once in a while. So look, as much as you want to bash him, he gets a guy like this who got him. Gave him a 1-year deal this season. Again, this is someone you almost like an afterthought. Figure, all right, fine, whatever, Luke Weaver. But some of these guys blossom, and he's got to credit that to Cashman. So for all the bash you want to do for him, he finds guys like this. And look at what he's doing so far this season right now. In at least 28 innings up to this point, 30 strikeouts to only 5 walks, and pitching to an ERA of 2.25. And again, this is a guy, again, we'll see it goes the rest of the way here, but we've seen Boone use him late in games and big pressure situations, and so far he's been fine. And again, in that Seattle series, saw him dial up to 97 miles per hour. So he's got the stuff there, so we'll see. And, for all the Cashman bash you want to do, but Cashman does find these guys like this that blossom. Same thing with Clay Holmes. He got him off like Pittsburgh, 3 seasons ago, and there's somebody you brought in there. All right, he's a big guy. He could throw hard. He's got some stuff there. And then he blossomed to be, right now, you can say, even with that blown save, probably right now one of the best closers in all of baseball there. So Cashman got an eye for these guys, and, sometimes they just float away, but sometimes they pay off dividends and become a home run. And staying on the Cashman wave, there's a new book about him coming out soon. I kind of mentioned before in the intro, and that's from SNY's Andy Martino. It's called The Yankee Way, The Untold Story of the Brian Cashman Era. And there was a story recently in the New York Post, kind of a little bit of excerpt about it. Between a little rift between Brian Cashman and Joe Torre. I suppose this was like the final one that really split them apart. Now, Torre, I at least mentioned in the article that this was mentioned in Torre's book. Remember the Yankee years that came out almost like 12 years ago. I remember reading, though, I don't remember this specific story. story, but again, this obviously this book, most recent book, highlights it again, and it was kind of ripped between Cashman and Torrey going back to the 2006 spring training there. Now, again, don't really remember the story at all, but again, I guess they resurrected though in this tale there by Martino. Basically, what happened was Colter Bean, if you remember him, he was with the Yankee organization from 2005 to 2007, and basically Ron Guidry was the pitching coach, and there was a little rift between Torrey and Cashman about having him as a pitching coach. They didn't like that, so already 2006 the fuse was already lit between them as well. Now Guidry, he obviously is old school. He didn't want to do the whole pitch count thing for pitchers. He wanted to do by minutes. So basically, they were going to have a Colter Bean throw, I guess, for 15 minutes, to kind of pace himself. Now, since he's not really going pitch count, he's going on minutes. Ended up Colter Bean threw 80 pitches in 15 minutes. And if you want to compare that to some other pitches, Mike Mussina, kind of obviously a high-profile named pitcher, he only threw 30 pitches in that same amount of time there. So obviously, Colter Bean throwing 50 more pitches there. So if you're someone like Cashman, you're a stats guy looking at numbers like that, that's going to kind of catch you there, and maybe you're not going to be too happy with that. Now, supposedly, the whole little beef happened here is that Cashman was actually having camera people film different drills, not only the pitches, but other drills as well. But Joe Torre felt like this maybe that Cashman was like spying him in a course. And of course, when he saw like the charts there, he found out that Colter Bean threw 80 pitches in 15 minutes there. I guess that caught Cashman's eye there. Obviously, he brought it to Torrey's attention, and there was a little rift between Torrey and Cashman over that. And Torrey's to kind of tell him, just trust me, let him do it. Meanwhile, Cashman, as always, looking at stats and stuff like that. And it kind of makes sense too, because then a year later, when you had Jabba Chamberlain in 2007, the whole Jabba rules, and Cashman had some clear instructions for Joe Torre. Obviously, you can only bring Jabba out in a clean inning. You can only face a certain amount of hitters and all that stuff there. And so this seemed like the beginning of that. And you kind of understand why this was bothering Joe Torre, and eventually why part of the reason that Joe Torre is probably more than happy to leave after the 2007 season, probably just having Cashman over his shoulder there, giving all those rules and stats and stuff and how to use players like that. And of course, Joe Torre, he's a field guy, he's an emotional guy, he's a visual guy, and again, doesn't like someone like Cashman, down his throat like that. So you kind of see how that would happen, how that would go that way, and why Torre eventually would leave after the 2007 season. Now they interviewed both Ron Guidry and Colter Bean for this book. Both of them really don't recur this specific incident, but Bean did remember that it is quite possible that he did throw that many pitches there during that session. Ron Guidry doesn't remember it at all, but he does remember at that time there was apparently a little bit of rift between Joe and Brian Cashman there, though, so that does seem to be authentic. And again, really the ironic part is over Colter Bean, who is a guy you probably have forgotten about him since now and mentioned him now maybe. Oh yeah, I remember that guy there. Never really panned out with the Yankees. Again, he was with the organization for a couple of seasons, but to have someone you would just say almost like a nobody pitcher like that be a cause of a rift between big names like Joe Torre and Brian Cashman is kind of ironic. But I guess if you want to read that as well as the rest of the book, again, it's by Andy Martino. It's called The Yankee Way, The Untold Story of the Brian Cashman Era. I read the Torre book, the Yankee years many years ago. And again, obviously, you can see that they're trying to push Torre out there, and they kind of want to change the organization a little bit to be more stats driven and stuff like that. And that's when they brought in, of course, Girardi, who had his big binder there, so he fit in like a glove. So that's the episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, everything going well in Yankee land, both with the hitting and the pitching. Going to get some pieces back soon there, and kind of the pecking order is going to be DJ LeMahieu. Again, when the Yankees kind of make that West Coast trip. Then you look back in probably late June, early July, you probably get your Garrett Cole, and then probably within July at some point, maybe towards the end of July there, you'll finally see your Jason Dominguez. And again, hopefully the rest of the club is doing well where you're not necessarily pushing any of those pieces back, but you should see DJ back there probably sooner there. So the Yankees continue rolling along there, kind of at the tops of the AL East there, so everything's going well. No major injuries to report there. And of course, Clay Holmes having his first blown save. Again, you want to go back in the time capsule there in 2022. Did lead to his downfall there, but again, that was more of an injury shoulder-related situation. But if you want to check it out, that was July 12th, 2022 there, and you see how he's declined there. But again, that was injury-related. I think it'll be fine moving forward there. So again, hopefully things go well. So that's the episode. Hope you enjoyed. We'll catch you next time.